I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? I want to welcome you also to Golden Room Media Conversations. I am telling you right now, I am having an amazing time, and I've already started. I mean, literally, I've already started. And I'm so sorry I didn't include you. And so now that I remember you're there, all right, we're just going to go ahead and continue our conversation with, I'm just going to say this. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar loves this guy, and I love him too. What an amazing saxophone player he is, and I am just so excited to have Tony Exum Jr. on the show today. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be good.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this too. Okay, so first of all, we were talking about this, but you got to tell everybody because I totally forgot they were there. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry, but I love you. Okay, but look, we got into it already. But what does it feel like for such a celebrity to love your music?
So here's what happened. I'm Googling some stuff. I'm trying to find this link for my website. I wanted to make sure that I had something on my press page, and so I'm looking. And sometimes, if you Google yourself, you'll find stuff that you didn't know was there. Like I found an old review one time from a previous single I put out. So I grabbed that, sent it to him, and then I saw this thing that said Kareem recommends, and then my name. I thought, what is that? I thought, okay, this might just be some blog site, just a combination of, some different things, somebody I didn't know. But I said, well, let me, it has my name on. Let me check it out and see what it is. I clicked on it, and it was his site. I verified it. I was like, wait a minute. He likes my song. And then I looked again, and he gave this incredible review of my latest single, Everything. And I didn't even tell anybody at first. I just sat there kind of in disbelief, like, wait a minute, this the right Kareem, And so, as it turns out, he has a blog spot that he recommends books, movies, and and music. And so
Wow.
that's how I found out. So I immediately, sent it over to BSE and my agent and said, check this out. And I got it all together and I posted it on Facebook, and that's one of the biggest posts I've had in a long time. But it was really just flattering to know that this guy, this icon, who I know is a musical aficionado. Like I've known that for a long time because I don't know if anyone remembers, but back in the '90s, I believe it was early '90s, he experienced a fire in his home, and he lost a big part of his record collection. He was well known as a jazz aficionado, and had a huge record collection. Rare printed, or out of print music. And of course, back in the early '90s, a lot of stuff that we have available to us now via YouTube or even CD wasn't in print back then. So it was a big deal. He suffered a big loss with that. So I knew he was a music lover. So for him to think that highly of me really meant a lot. And I still, like I said, I still smile about it when I think about it. Like, wow, somebody that iconic that I grew up watching that seems so far away from you,
I know.
is really, showing me a lot of love. And that definitely got a lot of attention on the single, fortunately. So that makes me feel really great.
Yeah, I mean, wow, wow. So let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
When did you begin to understand that you had this gift of, I wouldn't really say playing the saxophone. I would be like making it sing.
um, I realized I had a gift when I was about 16 years old. I had already been playing the saxophone for some time. I I started when I was 11. My uncle, mom's younger brother, was a saxophone player in the Fort Carson, Colorado Army band. He was an Army musician. He was stationed here in Colorado Springs, and so I used to watch him growing up before he even got into the Army when I was real little. So I heard the saxophone from word go, and um, grew up listening to, back in those times, not that I'm dating myself, but, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s when I was a little boy. Earth, Wind and Fire was always being played around here, and Parliament-Funkadelic and Cameo and Slave and all the bands that had horns and stuff. So I heard that sound a lot. So, quite naturally, when it was time to pick an instrument for school, I wanted to be like my Uncle Larry. His name was Larry Francis Jr. And I chose sax, and he gave me his first horn that summer. It was '86. I was 11 years old. said, okay, man, here's a saxophone for you. He had it in the garage and it needed to be repaired and stuff, and got it fixed up. And that was my first sax. And I played in a school band, got in a jazz band in ninth grade. But right around 15 to 16, I realized it's something I wanted to do, after discovering the music of George Howard and Najee. And my mother already had me listening to Grover Washington Jr. growing up too. So,
Mm.
and some Charlie Parker as well. So I had some of the classics plus David Sanborn, who was my uncle's guy, Ronnie Laws, Record Brothers, stuff like that. So the sound was already in my head. Andrew Woolfolk, of course, Don Myrick, the sax players with Earth, Wind & Fire. All that stuff was in my brain, even as a 10, 11-year-old. So it just kind of transferred easily to me. So when I decided I wanted to do this, I was about 16 years old, and I started getting a little recognition around, high school for being able to play a little bit. And I started getting featured at like basketball games and football games. They literally put a mic out on the field, and we had this, I hate to say, we had this really super corny arrangement of Kenny G's Silhouette for high school band. Oh my God, it was terrible. But I had a soprano saxophone that he also gave me, got it fixed up. So whenever we would do that song, they put a mic out there and they say, Tony, this is going to be your feature. And they let me solo. And I would get recognition and screams from both sides of the field from the other team, and I saw, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can do this, That year, we didn't have a marching band. We had like a show band, a pep band. So, that was like my little feature. And then, all throughout high school, I was always the main soloist, in the jazz band and that kind of thing. So I knew then that it was okay for me to pursue music for my career.
Oh, you got bit.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what that
memories.
is. You got bit by the book. And the biggest
Yes,
thing I find is that, saxophones are expensive.
very, very,
I
especially.
mean, like, expensive. I mean, to
Yeah,
get one as a gift, to just have to fix it.
yeah. He hadn't played that in a while. He, had retired from music after he got out of the army, but it was still costly to even get it fixed up. It was an older horn. But I remember just, not too many people played soprano in high school. There was one other kid my junior year that had one. And I used to just look at his horn with awe, like, man, I'm gonna get me one of those one day. And so mine was, it had a very seasoned look because it was, it wasn't brand new and shiny, brass. Brass always, with saxophones, the lacquer is going to wear off after a certain amount of time. But those unlacquered horns sometimes have the most character, you know. Um, so I eventually got a new one later, but that's the one that I remember having for quite some time, and it got me places. So
Wow.
soprano became my kind of ace in the hole as a saxophone
Wow. And
player.
like they're different saxes. Like some of them, like I play in a band and we have the horn band. I don't play sax. Okay. I should not say play in the band. I sing
Right.
and they play.
There you
But
go.
I've seen the baritone one, it's like
Yeah,
huge.
the huge one. Yeah,
Oh
big
my
sound.
gosh. I mean, but what a sound. It's like, I mean, it comes out, it's like, yeah. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
you
Barry's
can't
Barry's
do
got a
without it.
unique sound to it.
Oh, yeah, and then you
Yeah.
have the alto sax and the
Mhm.
soprano sax, so there are 3 different kinds, and
Yeah.
all of them are expensive,
Mhm.
especially the baritone one. That
The
one's
new ones, I mean,
huge.
you're looking at 5, 6 grand just for even how can I say it? Not even a brand new. You can have a used, but still valuable horn. And saxophones, certain saxophones actually appreciate in value. So there are
Mm,
horns that are out there that are classic that coming from like Selmer or Yamaha that are still very expensive that are not brand new. The classic saxophone is the Mark Six Selmer, made in the 50s and 60s, and then depending on like even the serial number, it'll tell you the value of the horn. So some
mm.
serial numbers or models are more expensive than others. So they don't decrease; they get more expensive as they get older, depending on the brand. So you're gonna spend at least for a decent horn. Plan on spending at least a professional horn, not a student or intermediate model, because they have those too. A lot of people don't know that, but there's your student model, which is for developing fingers and hands, and then you have the step up, as they call it, where a lot of high school students or maybe early college students might have those. I've had mine. And you have your professional horns that have the right size and they have the right ergonomics and they They have the engraving on them, different factors that, you know, um, allow them to sound a certain way. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with your skill set. It's not, if you can play, you can play. So, but you definitely have those different types of saxophones. You're going to put about 2 grand and 2.5, into a good horn.
I'm gonna have to say, parents out there and kids out there that want to play the saxophone, you better be like all in it. To pay
Yeah.
$2,500, $2,000, that's a lot
Right.
of money for some parents out there. Y'all didn't. I want to play the saxophone because I want girls. No.
Right. That's not the way to do it.
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I didn't know that growing up, and didn't sometimes use it to my advantage. But you have to sound good. You still got to sound good.
You still,
Right?
you can't be honking.
Yeah, you gotta you gotta put some practice time in to get that sweet spot with the sound. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it lends itself to, because it's almost like being a singer. The saxophone is the closest instrument to the human voice, so
Hmm.
we're kind of the singers of the instrumentalist, so to speak.
Yeah, that's why I said, when did you know you could make it sing?
I started getting some skills, some maturity kind of early on. You know, I think I figured it out. I started to find my sound in my early 20s. Um, but even now, it's still something that I work on. There's still some things that so, it's a marathon with this music, as you know, as a vocalist. It's always new things that you can do or discover or improve on or go back and clean up. I'm like in the process right now as a player, just a saxophone player, not as a recording artist, of going back and saying, okay, there's some things I struggled with in my younger years. I want to tighten those up now. So that's what I practice now, and I still practice every day.
Wow, wow.
Hmm.
It's just an amazing thing to see the progress from, the beginning until now. What
Yes.
have you noticed besides that? What have you
Mhm.
noticed of your playing, of your manipulation, of your tone,
Oh,
that
man.
you really, really are very happy that you got a hold of?
Um, I would have to say that having a distinctive sound, like being able for people to come up to me and say, you know what, I was listening to something and I knew it was you, to recognize your sound. There's so many saxophone players out there, a lot of great ones, a lot of really, really great ones, and even my generation, some of my peers in contemporary, smooth jazz, who have huge, tremendous sounds, that are just amazing players. So to be able to have someone or people, at times say, you know what, I heard this piece of music and it reminded me of you, or I actually heard a song on such and such radio station. I knew it was you. That's what you're all trying to get. That's the goal, is to have that individual timbre to your instrument, something about it that makes you a little different. And so I got a really big compliment from someone who's considered a contemporary jazz legend, a guy by the name of Ken Navarro, and he's a guitarist. Ken's been around for years. Ken told another artist friend of mine, he says, "Man, Tony, he's got one of the most beautiful, one of the best soprano sounds in the business." And I thought, wow. And this one guy who's a great saxophone player, his name's Will Donato. He and I had become like family. But I remember when I first met him, he said, dude, I heard you play. He's like, you're the next George Howard. I was like,
Oh my God.
wow, thank
Wow.
you. So
Wow.
that makes me happy when I know that I have maybe found that lane. Um, but from a technical standpoint, I want to be faster. I want to be, I'm working on more of my traditional jazz chops nowadays. So there's always new concepts and new things to discover and enhance your playing. Like I said, it's a marathon. There's always something you can. That's why guys can play for so many years and still practice, because there's just
Yeah.
music is so infinite. There's so much to learn, and it takes a lifetime to even touch it. So I'm still that guy. I'm still that student of the horn to this day.
And that's important to say. I mean, literally, that's so important to know when it comes to, the young ones coming up. They think that they got it. They ain't got
Right.
to practice. No, practice for what? No,
Yeah.
no, no, darling. You still got to practice. I mean, there are new songs, new techniques,
Mhm.
and you have new songs out. Tell me
Yes.
about the latest one that you have out today.
So the latest one is it's a personal favorite. I like some of my best work to date. It's called Everything, and it's a it's totally me. It's smooth, but it's really funky, kind of hard edge. I've always kind of maintained that kind of balance, that kind of dichotomy in my playing, in my approach. So um, it's got a really beautiful, chord changes. The hook, that bass line is crazy. I got my label mate Erica Kane singing the hook, giving it that sweetness on top. And it's one of those songs that, like Kareem says, like if you put this song on when you're driving, you're not going to care how long it takes you to get there. That's one of the biggest compliments I've ever received in my life.
Wow.
That was crazy. So it's definitely high energy, and it's something that you can work out to, something that you can cook to, clean the house to, or just makes you want to dance. And I've seen that happen too. I went to a club one time here in Colorado, and I walked in, and the DJ that was there, saw me, and he threw the song on, and I didn't say anything. I just kind of watched people's reactions, and folks got up and started dancing,
Ha.
and
I
it's
love it when
on
that
the record,
happens.
so that's great.
Yeah, I definitely love that when that happens, when people just get up, when I can just get up and just go out and dance. And
Yeah,
there's no question that this is moving my feet. Like I can't
yeah.
sit still.
And I always want to make music that you could, not music that you could necessarily dance to, but music that makes you want to dance. I think there's a difference there. So
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I definitely accomplished that with everything. And then my label mate Erica Kane and I collaborated on a classic, you know, um, Isley Brothers tune, or a lot of people. It depends on your generation, because our elders know it from the Isley Brothers, but our generation knows it from Aaliyah. That's a song called "At Your Best, You Are Loved."
Mhm.
So we put our spin on that, and I threw some really cool soprano sax behind her, so we kind of have like this wordplay between the horn and the vocals, kind of a male female touch. And I played it as like a way of answering her as she's singing to me, so I'm kind of having a conversation. Uh, and gave the song a different feel to throw sax on it. None of the other remakes out there that I know of. I know other horn players that remade the song instrumentally, but to have the vocal sax, female vocal saxophone combination is always cool. People have always liked that, kind of reminiscent of like when Kenny G and Tony Braxton got together a few, back in the '90s. So we did that, and that's got a little buzz to it. Erica Kane's been around for a while, so I was very
Yeah.
happy to collaborate with her, and it's doing well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. I am just so happy for you. I
yeah,
mean, things happen in its own time, and
yeah,
everything is okay, and
yeah.
the practice and the practice and the practice.
Right, right.
And
It's
all of a
pays off.
sudden, you get the somebody likes you and they're famous. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
and not only the fact that they're famous, but you also look at it from the standpoint of they know music. They this individual, Kareem he loves jazz. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy had a big record collection back in the day. So he didn't just listen to current stuff. He's just familiar with the greats, the masters, the goats, as we call them.
Mhm.
So he's familiar with Grover. He's familiar with Dexter Gordon and Bird and Cannonball and Train, and all the influential horn players. I'm quite sure maybe Branford Marsalis, Ronnie
Right.
Lott, all the guys that all of us have taken something from or laid the foundation for us. So for him to recognize me, knowing that he loves this music, that's probably the bigger part of that compliment. Is like it's coming from someone who understands, and
Yeah.
has an ear for it. So that makes it even more special.
Yeah, definitely, and the biggest thing that I always say is that you have people coming up after you that don't understand certain things or just need a little bit of a boost. What
Right.
do you tell them? How do you encourage people? Especially playing the saxophone, and I mean, jazz is coming back. We got somebody that won a Grammy the other night from jazz.
Yes,
Come on now, come on
man.
now.
It is.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's it is coming back, and I think as much as the Grammys can be controversial at times, and maybe not the same as it may have been in another era, people are being recognized. When Tomorrow Joy won, I was smiling ear to ear. Robert Glasper winning, even though he did a crossover album, you know, and and I no disrespect to Chris Brown and his reaction, but I'm like, dude, you just gave Robert Glasper all the publicity he needed, with that proverbial question. Now they know who the Robert Glasper is because you said something. Thank you, Chris Brown, because now everybody's looking at us again. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yes. Wow. Definitely.
absolutely.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you so much, so very much for being on the show
Thank
and
you.
just and sharing your experience and then, telling people that all you have to do is continue and
Yes,
just
don't quit.
keep going.
Keep
Don't
going.
quit.
Keep going, and just remember that when someone said it to me when I was younger, said it's a marathon, not a sprint. I just kept that close to heart, and things will come. Life throws all kinds of curveballs at us, outside of music, inside of music. And you try to separate the two. Sometimes they both get in each other's way, but that's okay because that's the stuff that you put into your music. And one day, whatever I was going through maybe 7 years ago is going to come out on a solo. It's going to come out in a song. Sometimes you channel it at different times, but the most important thing is that you keep going, because when you have this gift and when you know the source of that gift, you have a responsibility and obligation to use it. Because he doesn't place. We all have a gift, but he placed certain gifts on certain people for specific reasons.
Yeah.
So whatever he saw in me from the day that I was conceived, that young man's going to do this and that. I have no choice sometimes but to magnify that and glorify that gift, and that's what I try to do. It's not even always about me. Maurice White from Earth, Wind& Fire said it best in the interview. The way he articulated it was like, he says, I have a need to render myself to humanity. And I thought,
Yeah.
yes, that's what we all do as musicians, as recording artists, in one way or another. So I'm just doing my part in that whole process.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Well, thank you again so much. People, you can get him on Instagram at TEXUM Junior.
Yes.
Okay. And also his website is TonyExumJr.com. We're going to have that information in the description box below. So
Oh,
it'll be easy for you guys to go ahead and click
all
on that
right.
and get that. And
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and back out because Mr. Exum is going to go ahead and introduce his latest song for you guys.
All
Here he
right.
goes.
Here it is, everybody. The latest single on BSE Recordings. Big shout out to Lou Humphrey and Jasmine Joyner, Erica Kane, who produced and co-wrote the song with me. This is a banger, y'all. It's one of my favorite tunes I've ever recorded. I hope you enjoy it. I really hope you like it. Here's my tune, Everything. Check it out.